Advice needed. My husband's closest friend where we live says my husband gives him the heebie-jeebies. Autism. Igoli girl. Your buddy has been leading your husband on and talking badly about him behind his back to his own wife. Who is giving who the heebie-jeebies here? You need to tell your husband, and then both of you should strongly consider booting your buddy out of your lives. Rask 17. 1. You know that guy who just opened up to us about having autism, which can muddle social signals and make being yourself around new people difficult. Yeah? Something's off about that guy. I don't know what it is, but something's off. Saltensteins_monster. 1. They don't sound like very good friends. Alison Wonderful. 1. Personally, I would talk to your friends and say that what they said really hurt you and explain why. Very calmly. Tell them that it was a big deal for your husband to confide in them about his autism, and ask them if they understand that his inappropriate reactions are due to autism and that he's trying to fit in. Ask them if you can answer any questions they have and try to spark a conversation. Unfortunately, if they can't discuss it and don't get it, you may lose them as friends. But I would tell them that you love them, but you love your husband even more. Best of luck. That is a really hurtful situation for both of you. Hello lovely one. 1. You have to tell him. Because if you don't, and you keep hanging out with these people, and all of this comes out later, he's going to feel humiliated. If he's 43, he's probably pretty used to rubbing people the wrong way. He can either make the choice to keep showing up to hangouts with them and just mask harder, or he can choose to not socialize with them. But you have to either tell him or not hang out with those people anymore. But you can't just keep bringing him around and letting him be disliked like that in front of people he thinks are his friends, when they actually don't like him. That's just straight up cruel. Also, your friends seem low-key shitty, which isn't the best reflection of your own judgment. Frankly, baby possums in a basket. 1. If he's like me, hell, choose to stop associating with them. Who wants to be around people that lie to your face and don't like you? You'll do him a favor by letting him know. Create this calm. 1. Please tell him. Also, when anyone is trying so hard to be like the other person, nobody would like it. It's best to just hang out with other fellow weirdos, so there isn't a correct way of acting and an incorrect way you need to control. Chair Historical 5953. 1. Your husband seems a bit like me and what I've gone through with a later in life diagnosis, and I feel his struggle when reading your message. It sounds like your husband may still be masking around this couple to try and fit in, and maybe fawning in an attempt to be liked by them. Being diagnosed later in life will make it difficult for your husband not to mask around these people, and he may not even realize that he's doing it, or why he may be exhausted after spending time with them. It also sounds like this couple is a bit ableist, or perhaps ignorant, if they are unable to accept your husband without him having to put more effort into masking around them. Autistic fawning takes a ton of effort and energy and gets you nowhere, and once you realize you've been doing it, that realization comes with the revelation that you might be trying to impress the wrong people when they never reciprocate, something that may be helpful. I've found that sometimes it can help when disclosing a diagnosis, to provide a bit of information around how your autism might present itself to others so that they can better understand, a bit like an elevator pitch, to explain how masking works and how much effort goes into it, and that sometimes that mask might fall away, or even that he might want to try and just be his incredible, interesting, unique, tangential and intelligent self without a mask. It might also help to let close friends know when you trust them enough not to mask around them. The more people understand about our kind, the more we can be accepted as we are without having to try so hard to be something else. A massive thank you to you for seeing this struggle and protecting and supporting your husband. Also, if he ever wants to talk to a fellow late diagnosed autistic, I won't think it's weird if he wants to message me. Edit. Spelling. Flat out spewin'. 1. What's your favorite comfort show? Autism, Apples and Pears 43. Where's my community gang? Lily pads. 1. Star Trek. I am in the middle of watching everything Star Trek. I've gone through TOS, Enterprise, DS9, Picard, Discovery, all of the movies, and I am up to date on Strange New Worlds. I've watched most TNG, but I plan on watching it through again once I am done with Voyager. Happy Harry's Pie Club. 1. Adventure Time. I just feel at home when I watch it. Delta Kelp. 1. Right now it's BoJack Horseman. I've probably watched the whole show 20 times since November. In the past, Parks and Recreation, New Girl, Anything Bo Burnham, and Brooklyn 99. Becca D. Bex. 1. BBC Sherlock, Good Omens and Shadow and Bones, Complex Society 7355. 1. So, Stranger Things, Shadow and Bone, Umbrella Academy, Futurama, Fallout, Clarkson's Farmy Can. Just listen, watch them at any time. Jasper Jones 22. 1. Supernatural and Star Trek, Jindo Bunny. 1. Big Mouth seems to be what I always go back to. Spensader. 1. Who else here smokes pot? Autism, Mutant Gel 0. Helps me unmask, or at least less masked. Also dulls sensory input I feel. Poapoa Mucher. 1. Pothead here. That'ly kid. 1. I prefer to eat my THC. Forsaken_hermit. 1. I smoke every day. I have ADHD and autism, so smoking helps a lot with social anxiety. Not when I am initially high, but afterwards I am more mellow. And it helps calm the chaos of my mind. I want to try and smoke less THC and smoke more CBD pens to wean off the THC. Fat_blob_Kelly. 1. I did, and it quickly became my hyperfixation over Minecraft. It solved my social issues because any social interaction I messed up, I blamed it on being high. After smoking for a year and delving into other substances, I had lost most of my sober social skills I used to have, and it made me content with staying where I was in life and not wanting to better myself. It can be very useful for some lots of people with ASD, but it doesn't work for all. I stopped recently and started playing Minecraft again. Quote, Joseph_45. 1. Vape medical, but close enough. It dulls the edges of daily reality enough that I'm not continually overwhelmed with existing. Also helps with my appetite problems and sporadic hip and low back issues. Winter won't stop coming. 1. I used to smoke a lot when my depression was the worst, got addicted, and then stopped last December. Still want to smoke constantly. It helped me unmask, but it's not good for me. German_Kerman. 1. Airy Day, temporary_row_7649. 1. Gifted kids. Did you become average, and when? Autism. Initial Mountain 9409. I was considered gifted but lazy. I'm still smarter than most people I know. But I can't do anything because merely waking up causes insurmountable burnout. Jovial_monkey. 1. Gifted with undiagnosed ADHD meant I look dumb on paper. But I never failed a test. The school system was just underwhelming. And I hated the redundancy of homework to the point it made it very hard to complete without burning out. Beatles. 1. I was just under the gifted and talented line. Like just below it, so I didn't have to deal with that, but had hyperlexia and didn't need to study at all up until high school. Sophomore year was really bad for me. Looking back, I think I hit burnout and just gave up. I didn't want to do it anymore because I wasn't good at school anymore. Kira chaotic. 1. IDK if I would have been considered gifted. But I was able to read before starting school, which gave me a head start that lasted me a couple of years. By the time I started high school, however, I was aware that I was doing fine with regurgitating facts and recognizing patterns, which was sufficient until then, but would suck at synthesizing knowledge and forming my own opinions, which teachers said would become more relevant later. I was still able to somehow bullshit my way through school until the end, so it isn't much reflected in my grades. However, there definitely was a shift from actually feeling confident in most subjects to feeling that everyone else was suddenly smarter than me, plus feeling overwhelmed from long reading assignments and lessons that were entirely verbal. That started when I was 14 or 15. IIRC. CLE 1 ETECL. 1. When I got to university, I was the typical "if only your son applied yourself." I was gifted but lazy. Because I was gifted, I, like you, was able to read from a very young age. Before kindergarten, school was such a breeze for me. I had bad grades, but not because I didn't know things. Rather, I was too lazy to do my homework. I did not study or have to study for most of my school life. In fact, I don't remember a single day, night, where I spent over 2 hours studying something before deciding it was better to play video games. Mind you, I was not excelling at school, but I wasn't failing either. I came out with literally an average grade. I did not study for tests and I did well. The problems were my homework and activities. I just didn't do them. I remember once in math when we were studying binomials or STH, I created a much more effective method of getting to the answer, which I found by finding patterns in the equations, and it worked 100% of the time. It didn't save you much of the process. Perhaps just 30 seconds or STH, but I used it. However, my autistic brain wanted to make sure it worked before speaking up. Anyway, another student also found it, though later than me, and it was named after them. Lol. I'll never forgive myself. I can't remember what it was. It's been a while since I've done binomials. But yeah, that essay thing that happened. Later in med school, my first year, I did not study at all and passed with previous knowledge I had about medicine from high school. After first year, things went downhill because I did not have the discipline to study. So I started getting worse grades. I was still passing by, but barely. And my average is not the best, so yeah. That's my case. Gifted with the power of understanding, but the same gift caused me to be careless with my studies. And just now am I getting the necessary discipline to do so. It doesn't take much for me to understand medicine. But the problem is actually sitting down and reading. Dochitori. 1. I was considered gifted from the age of 4. L progressively moved to more selective schools, universities, until I was eventually considered average. But that was in a class where all my classmates were also ND and picked from the approximately 100 best students in the country of their age. After that, I went into academia, then startups. Of course, part of my masking is pretending to be dumber than I am. I'm Yorick. 1. I have inattentive ADHD and autism. Though I was only diagnosed for ADHD, I would say that I am gifted. I never had to study for anything. And I didn't. In high school, I got so good at deduction and critical thinking that I could just guess my way to A's and B's. It translated to tests like the ACT and SAT. I scored 99th percentile in English, reading, and science. Only around 96th in math because I couldn't guess it if I didn't know the formula, which I remembered none of them. I wasn't always this good. My ADHD is somewhat severe. When I was younger, I couldn't pay attention and I never remembered anything. If I didn't like it, I didn't remember it. I think my ADHD really hid my ability I never did any homework. I'm in college now and I still struggle with homework. I am very smart. But high school was absolute hell. It was horrible. I hated it. My ADHD and autism were no help. It got to the point where I literally unable to do homework. In some classes I just stopped turning in assignments. I still passed. But man, I wasn't a good student. Currently I'm going to a community college. Living from home. And I am happy. I still have big goals. I just am taking my time. Right now I am playing the helpful guy role in the family. My sister is a direct admit to IU. But I probably have done half of her scholarships for her. I was never a good student. But honestly, I realized that if I am as smart as I think I am, then I came to the conclusion that school and pressure and stress are all overrated. That I'll succeed elsewhere. Anyhow, also shout out to my ADHD medication. Literally a game changer. Easy Cartographer 3311. 1. I scored in the top 1% in a few different subjects on the standardized testing in elementary school. And had excellent grades until I got into junior high and started doing drugs and missing school. Then spent the remainder of my school experience locked up until the very end of high school when I came back more than halfway through 12th grade. My vocabulary has shrunk mostly due to masking. But I don't think my overall intelligence level has suffered much. I just don't have anything to show for it. I am sure trauma and drugs have taken some points off my IQ. But honestly I kinda wish it had taken more. Possibly a SB. 1.